go ahead and get started, buddy. I know we got a lot to cover and not a whole lot of time. So, guys, let me introduce myself to you. Some of you on the names that I have seen, I do recognize. Some of them I do not. I look forward to meeting all of you pretty soon. Before we get started, guys, if you're viewing the screen and it's kind of a small window, in the bottom left-hand side, there should be a link there that you can click on that says View Full Screen. So go ahead and click that, and you should get a bigger picture. Again, my name is Brandon Ellison. This is Symmetry Financial Group. This is our boot camp. What we want to do today, guys, is we want to go over kind of an introduction to Symmetry Financial Group, kind of get you started on the right path, give you all of the initial tools that you're going to need to hopefully get on the phone this weekend, start making some dials, booking some appointments, and going out and helping some families. What we like to do on this call is go over a little bit of our background and how the company got started, cover the resources with you that are available for you, go over the website, talk about lead programs, how to order leads, manage leads, what leads are available to you. We're going to go over some product information with you. Casey will go over some great sales training with you from the phone script, the in-home script, following up after the sale, and then we'll kind of go over the basics of building your business and how to get started. So, again, you probably will have some questions. Do us a favor, write those down as we're going along so that we can come back and revisit those at the end, because we've got a lot of information to cover. Just a little background on my story kind of before we get started, guys. I have been in the insurance business for roughly about 10 years, a little bit less than 10 years, about 9 years. I got started with a company in the supplemental insurance field everybody's familiar with. It's the company with the duck, and I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't last very long. I made it about 2 weeks, and the reason I made it 2 weeks was because I didn't like the idea of cold calling. I didn't want to go door to door. I didn't want to ever feel like I was bothering someone. Okay, and so I was always attracted to a lead program, or thought that that's what I wanted. When I left that company, I picked up with a health insurance company that offered a free lead program. And if any of you guys have ever worked free leads, you're probably having a little giggle, but not the freshest of leads, Casey. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny now. It was certainly not funny at the time, but it's kind of funny now that the first lead that I ever called with this health insurance company, that person had been dead for 2 years. Now, that's not funny that someone had been dead, but luckily it was an older individual. Still, not the freshest of leads. Okay, I made it with that company for about 5 months and really was struggling, was not making a good bit of money, it was hard to pay the bills. And so I was about ready to throw in the towel on the insurance business when I ran across a newspaper ad that said mortgage protection sales, leads, 75K first year, +, +, and there was a number to call. I picked my phone up, called that number, and the next day I was about 4 hours away from home interviewing for a position, and it wasn't much of an interview. I just remember getting a lead, and at that time the lead was a little pink card, but it was very specific on what the product was. There's a death benefit, disability options, critical illness options, return of premium, no physical exam. If you're interested, put all this information down. When I saw that piece of paper, I thought, when did they fill that out? Because if they just filled that out like a couple of days ago or even a couple of months ago, I can sell this. And my initial thought was, if I could be in front of them when they filled that form out, I would be able to sell 75 to 100% of those, right? Okay, so that should tell you guys that this sale is based on emotion, and our job is to get in the house, get in front of the client, rebuild the emotion, reestablish, resurrect the emotion. Once we do that, it's all about getting it into the price range, and from there it's a done deal. I came home, guys. I didn't get off to the best start because I was still dabbling around in health insurance. Even though I wasn't making money there, it was comfortable for me. It's weird how people do that, I know. In March of 2003, I finally got focused, and from that point to the end of the year, I made about $88,000. Now, guys, that's certainly not bragging on me. There were a lot of people making a lot more money in our business model than I was. But for me, at that point in my life, I was probably 23 years old, 24 years old. That was a lot of money. You know, some of you that are on this call may be thinking, if I could go out and make $88,000, that would change everything. Well, let me tell you something. It changed everything for me at that point. The next year we were able to jump up and almost double that amount, and the next year double again. We started building an organization, and it got crazy, okay? I say all that because I want you guys to understand that if I could have done this thing 8 or 9 years ago, anybody can do this thing. Okay, I didn't have a ton of experience. What I did have was a commitment. I had drive. I was not going to be denied to go out and earn a great living. Okay, as long as I had the system, as long as I had the leads, that's all I needed. The rest was up to me. I was not going to get beat in work ethic. I want to turn it over to Casey to kind of go over his story before we go any further, because I think Casey's story is just it's a great one. Casey, you and I kind of got started in this business together pretty close to the same time, didn't we?
Yeah, about the same time, Brandon, and it's been a fun ride, hasn't it?
Has been fun.
Yeah, guys, looking forward to shaking a lot of your hands, hopefully soon. But I know I haven't got to meet all of you, and Brandon and I are definitely looking forward to that. But, again, my name is Casey Watkins, and just a little bit about my story. I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. I'll hit the high notes, or I guess you probably call it the low notes, Brandon. But before I got my insurance license in April of 2001, I was working as a plumber's assistant for a guy, friend of the family actually, in Black Mountain, North Carolina, and he was paying me $6 an hour. And so, and the reason I had that job was because before that I had dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. And so that's about the extent of my education. And so when you don't have anything on your resume as far as education goes, that's kind of what I felt like I was stuck with. I wanted to learn the trade, but I realized after a couple weeks that it wasn't for me. I did it for about 2 years just because I didn't think there was anything else out there. But, you know, I was tired of the trade work, learned a lot about plumbing, but just knew I wasn't going to really use it as a career. I mean, I was making $6.50 an hour after about 2 years of being a plumber's apprentice, and I decided it was time to move on. So I had a buddy that was in the insurance business, and he's the guy that convinced me to get my license. I went in April, took my test, failed it the first time. Fortunately, I decided to go back and take it again. I came real close not to, Brandon. There's no telling where I'd be doing right now if I hadn't have. But I went back, passed my test, and started with a captive company, similar to probably some of you guys on the phone. Just like Brandon, I started with a captive company selling Medicare supplement. Same thing, free lead program where we were, you know, basically going door to door, knocking on people's doors. You know, I got what I paid for there. Did that for about 2 years. Made $35,000 my first year, which wasn't bad considering I was making $6 an hour before that. Made about exactly the same my second year. And I started looking around me at the sales meetings. Brandon, this is what did it for me. And the guys that had been there for 10 and 20 and 30 years really weren't doing that much better. And so I really didn't see that much of a future there. I knew there was a lot of money in the insurance business, but not with this opportunity. It was captive, which usually when there's a captive company, it means it's 50 or 100 years old and usually owned by some big Fortune 500 company. All the money's gone. The guys that have made their money are long gone. It was about that time where I was introduced, about the same time as you, Brandon, to that mortgage protection business, and I saw that mortgage protection lead, had an interview in the same basement that you did in one of the owners' homes at that time. And guys, we got started, was about 2003, Brandon, and did that for up until 2009, and it was a great ride. I want to kind of get into a little bit of the history behind the company and how Symmetry Financial got started, because I think it's important for everybody on the phone to understand, you know, where Brandon and I are coming from and what our passion is and you know, where we stand at as a company, because this day, for some of you guys, could mark the beginning of a long, long career with this company, and hopefully for all of you guys. But, you know, and we'll kind of get into some of the things that, you know, you need to bring to the table to kind of secure that. But, you know, as far as where we're at, guys, we resigned from that company in 2009. Now, we had went out, personally produced. I remember my first year in mortgage protection, Brandon, it was $103,000. I remember my first week was $2,400, and that wasn't even my first week. That was really my first day. I remember getting the same leads you got, Brandon, just a handful of old leads. I didn't know it at the time. I thought they were brand new, but so I called them like they were. I didn't know any better. I learned later that, you know, they were just my manager's old leads. And half the time I think I was working your old leads, Brandon, and you were working my old leads. But it worked,
Yeah.
and we just hit the phones, and we would book ourselves. You know, I remember my first night on the phone, I had a 2-page phone script in front of me. And, guys, we didn't have boot camps. We didn't have anything like this. It was here's a couple phone script, here's a couple leads, and here's a tape. And we listened to that tape, and that's about all the training we had. And I made about 30, I made a handful of dials. I booked 6 appointments for the following day. And then I went out that first day and closed 5 applications for $5,600 in premium. And Brandon, that was a breath of fresh air because, you know, I felt like finally that put about $2,400 in my checking account, and that, to me, that was, you know, I finally found a career, something that I could do without having to go to college and getting a degree. And so, me and you worked that same year. You kind of transitioned to full time. I was kind of full time already. Made $103,000. Went on to we started building agencies. Brandon and I both did. We helped build agencies within this company, which we'll get into the opportunity to kind of build an agency in a little bit. But that was an opportunity that was given to us. We did not take advantage of it for the first 2 or 3 years. Wish we had it because we would have had a bigger head start. But we started making great money with the company. But in 2007, the ownership changed, and there was 3 original owners, and 2 of the owners got bought out by one of them. And when that happened, the company just started taking a totally different direction than it started in the beginning when we were first on board, and it was just a direction that we didn't want to go. To put it short and sweet, I guess you could say, it kind of started to get a little bit top heavy in that we were making decent money, but because of the cost of doing business, cost of leads, cost of this kind of stuff, our agents weren't. And so Brandon and I got, really kind of tired of not being able to sleep at night and not being able to wake up in the morning excited about our business, because we knew the chances of hiring somebody and bringing them in and them going through the system and making money was good in that they could make money, but for them to keep it, it was going to be downright impossible because of the cost of business. In other words, we had guys making $100,000, $250,000 a year that we had hired into our business, that we had coached and mentored. And to see somebody like that that's making $250 a year, grossing $250 a year, complaining because they're broke, because they're really only netting $30,000 or $40,000, that's not a good feeling. And we that's when we decided to split. And so we went out, we resigned in 2009, and we went on the hunt for a handful of things. We knew that in order to grow a business, in order to have a successful business, we had to make sure we structured it in a way that was balanced and that we shared the wealth, I guess you could say, so that the people that are contributing, the people that are producing results are getting paid. Because if you guys are getting paid, then you're going to stick around, right? If you're not, you're going to be gone in 2 to 3 months. And that's what the rest of the industry is settled with is, what we'll do is we'll just make money in the revolving door. Meaning we'll hire 1,000 people a month or 1,000 people a year, and over the 3-month period that it takes them to figure out they're not making money, they will have brought in X amount of distribution to the company. We started this company with a very long-term goal, and that was to spread that wealth a little bit, balance out the distribution of commissions and the cost of business so that when you come in, you have the best shot in the industry to not only make money, but to keep money in your pocket through profit and to build a business if that's what your goal is, and it be profitable on all levels of the business, whether you're brand new or whether you've been with us for 2 or 3 years.